Hi there, welcome to another wonderful episode of 700 Club Nigeria. Wherever you are, make yourself comfortable as we bring you stories that will make a difference in your life.
That's right, Ethel. Coming up next on 700 Club Nigeria, Dr. Kenneth Enwerem, an advocate for sickle cell awareness and prevention, talks about his pains and his passion.
Every mother knows the joy of having a baby. But somewhere within these babies may be a disorder that will bring pain and sorrow to their mothers. Sickle cell disease, a painful disorder that distorts the red blood cells of sufferers.
There is a structure in the red blood cells that is called hemoglobin. And this hemoglobin is what is affected in sickle cell disease. Hemoglobin is the oxygen carrying component of the blood. It is what carries oxygen from the lungs to every other part of the body.
Red blood cells are usually flexible and can navigate even the tiniest blood vessels.
In a sickle cell person, the blood becomes sickle-shaped and becomes rigid, and it loses that capacity to become flexible. Therefore, instead of navigating through blood vessels, it just goes and blocks blood vessels. So that's what causes all the attendant issues.
Sickle cell disease sufferers and their parents are familiar with the attendant issues.
The signs and symptoms that you can present with include hand and foot swelling, or what we call vaso-occlusive crisis in medical terms, whereby the child develops severe pains and swelling in the hands and in the legs, and these pains are really excruciating. Studies have shown that they can only be compared to labor pain.
Other presentations include low blood levels or anemia, leg ulcers, facial bone and hip bone deformities, and sometimes stroke. Though this disease is widespread in the tropical regions, ignorance of it has led to many myths and contributed to the high infant mortality rates in Africa.
About 15% of people that have sickle cell disease die before the age of 40 in this country. In fact, in rural areas where the knowledge of sickle cell disease is not there and adequate management is not put in place, the figure is even far higher than that. Most of them die before their 5th birthdays, and that has given the misconception in most rural areas that sickle cell children are possessed by evil spirits. In fact, in the Igbo part of this country, they are referred to as Obanje, which is children from the river goddess. In the Yoruba part of this country, they are referred to as Abiku. Some people even think that it's a punishment from the gods.
Dr. Ken Enwerem knows the pains of sickle cell disease from first-hand experience. He recalls a crisis in medical school that almost took his life. Ken had just finished a long day at work and had gone to rest.
And I woke up around 2:30 a.m. and my whole body was in severe pains. I have not had those kind of pains before. I just felt like, God, take my life now. The fact that I didn't pass on at that time, was an indicator that, look, God spared my life for a purpose. And I decided from that day that I would advocate for sickle cell disease and ensure that people make informed decisions before they enter into a relationship, and also ensure that people that are affected by sickle cell disease have adequate care.
Dr. Ken has since founded omegacaresfoundation in Jos Plateau State, through which he spreads the message of sickle cell disease awareness, especially among the young people.
The youths are those that are vulnerable, that are going to enter into relationships, that are going to get married and have children. And if they do not know about sickle cell disease and the possibilities of children they can have depending on what genotype they have, they can also walk into relationships ignorantly and still have children with sickle cell disease.
Omega Cares Foundation has gone on roadshows, held workshops and talks in schools, marketplaces, religious institutions and offices to create awareness of sickle cell disease.
After each of these talks, the kind of questions they ask goes along with to show you that these people do not know, and they are willing to know. They are willing to know because they do not want to make the same mistakes their parents made out of ignorance.
And for young people who intend to marry, what are the kind of questions they should ask?
It is very, very important that you know your own genotype, your hemoglobin genotype, and know the hemoglobin genotype of your partner. Because it is with that knowledge that you can know, okay, if I have social genotype and my partner has social genotype, what are the possibilities of genotypes that our children can have? And I will advise every intending couple to seek genetic counseling, because it's by genetic counseling that you can be counseled on what sickle cell disease is, know the attendant signs and symptoms and complications, know how to prevent it, because it's really, really very, very important that we have all this knowledge. Then after you have all this knowledge, you and your partner can sit down and make an informed decision. Having all this knowledge, if there's a possibility that we can have a child with sickle cell disease, do we think we can go ahead with the relationship, or should we call it quits? That decision still rests between you and your partner.
Sickle cell disease is inherited by a combination of genetic variables. To make it even easier for everyone to understand these factors, Dr. Ken has designed this simple ball game. The red balls represent the S genotype and the green balls the A genotype.
We'll have two intending couples, or two people, a lady and a guy, to play the game, so that if they know their genotypes, they can know what kind of genotypes they can pass on to their children.
And Ken puts in a word for sickle cell disease sufferers.
Sickle cell disease children are not abnormal children. They are just special children with a special condition requiring special care. With adequate care and management, these children can live to be as old as any other normal human being. They can grow and become whatever thing they desire to become in life.